Okay, class, we are going to go over fractions. I'm going to explain to you what a unit fraction is, and then we're going to practice some equivalent fractions. But before we can even start, we need to talk about the parts of a fraction and what a fraction is to begin with. Now, a fraction is only a fraction if it is an equal part. So if I drew this, could I say that that's half? Could I say that that was a fraction? No, absolutely not. A fraction must be an equal part. So fraction has two parts. You have a numerator and you have a denominator. Now, the denominator will always be the total amount of parts. The numerator will always be whatever they're asking you for. Which part is shaded, what part is not shaded. So normally it's whatever the question is that they ask you, okay? So let's say, for example, that you have, and please, I know Miss Ayala doesn't draw perfectly, but just imagine that these are equal parts on this. So if this was the fraction that you had, and they asked you to name the shaded part of the fraction, the first thing that you would do is you would count the total number of parts. So you would have to start off with the denominator, and the numerator was the question, and that was, what is the shaded part? So let's start. Well, this one's really easy because it's small. My denominator would be 3. And how many parts were shaded? 2. Excellent. So 2/3 is that fraction. Okay? Simple. Simple enough. So what would be and here I would like not shaded. What is the fraction that is not shaded? What do you start with first? You're going to start with the denominator, which is the total. So the denominator here, total number of pieces, 8. Then how many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4/8. Now this leads me to something really cool that I can show you next. Now 4/8 as a fraction, I can find an equivalent fraction to 4/8. And I can do it both ways. To find equivalent fractions, I can either multiply or I can divide. Now what I want to do is I want to teach you what a unit fraction is. So I'm going to divide in order to get there. A unit fraction is the smallest fraction that you can get. So from 4/8, I'm going to divide, because when you divide, things become smaller, and that's what I need. What could I divide both 4 and 8 by? What number will go into both? Okay, so we can try 2. Let's try 2. So if I divide the top by 2, I have to do the bottom by 2. You have to do the same. Whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. So 4 divided by 2 gave me 2. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. So far, 4/8 and 2/4 are both equivalent fractions. But I'm not done. I'm not at a unit fraction yet, because a unit fraction has 1 as its numerator. So I have to do it again. And in order for it to get smaller, what operation am I going to use? That's right, division. So I'm going to divide yet again. And I'm going to use 2. I'm going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Excellent. So 4/8, 2/4, and 1/2 are equivalent fractions. And 1/2 is a unit fraction because the numerator is 1. You can't get any smaller than 1. Now I want you to notice that when I was doing this to find the equivalent fraction to get down to a unit fraction, I was dividing, but I did it in 2 steps. So I divided by 2, and I had to do it again. Some of you might have noticed right away when we had 4/8 that it could have been done in 1 step. What could you have divided by 1 step to go straight to unit fraction? That's right, divide by 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4, 2. Excellent. So 1/2. So this is where your facts practice, you're memorizing your facts, is so important, because if you're so used to seeing 4 times 4 equals 16, if you start with the fraction with the denominator of 16 and its numerator was 4, you would automatically know that you can use 4 for both the numerator and the denominator, because you know 4 times 4 is 16. Ms. Ayala is always stressing that you learn your multiplication facts, because it helps you with so many things, division, fractions, everything, because you start getting used to seeing those 3 numbers together. 4 and 4, 16. 3 and 2, 6. You just get used to seeing them. So I could have done this in one step. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And this is my unit fraction. So instead of taking 2 steps of doing divide by 2, I could have done it in just one, because 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, now I want you to try one on your own. So you move this out of the way. Let's say that that is the fraction that you're given. And you need to find equivalent fractions, and you notice on your test that all your answer choices are smaller numbers in the numerator and denominator. If they're smaller numbers in your answer choices, does that mean that you're going to multiply, or are you going to divide this fraction to find the equivalence? That's right, you will divide. If all your answer choices are smaller, you need to divide. So looking at this, 8/12, you notice that both of those numbers are what? They're both divisible by 2. They're even numbers. So if they're even numbers, then you know that you can use 2. But remember, I want you to always work smarter, not harder. So is there another number we can use besides 2? Excellent. 4. 4 will go into both of those numbers. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, now take a look at this answer. That is my answer. It's 2/3. Can I turn 2/3 into a unit fraction? Why not? Excellent, because there's nothing that you can divide by 2 and 3 at the same time. It's not divisible. 3 is a prime number. You can't go any lower than 3. Nothing else goes into 3 but 3 in itself. So once you hit a prime number, you're done. You stop. And 2, that's the lowest also. You just can't put anything into it. You can't divide 2 by 2. It will work. 2 divided by 2 is 1, but can you do 3 divided by 2? No, so it doesn't work. So there you know that that's the lowest you can go, but it's not a unit fraction. That is just the lowest. So what if they gave you this? What if you started off with this one? But all of your answer choices were bigger. I mean, big, big, big. So what could you do? If your answer choices are big, then they're asking you to do which operation? That's right, you're going to be multiplying. So let's say that the answer choices that you were given were 20 over 30, 16 over 32, and 12 over 19. Well, we notice that all the numbers in the fraction answer choices, they're bigger, so we know we're going to multiply. But we need to find an equivalent fraction. So taking this fraction, what could you multiply by that would give you one of these? Okay, now remember, we can always start off by 2. And this is why the multiplication facts, yet again, are so important. Because in my head, Miss Ayala's thinking, okay, well, 4 times 2 is 8. I don't see 8 as a numerator. Okay, let me try again. 4 times 3 is 12. Oh, I do see 12 as a numerator here. But if I did 4 times 3 to get that one, I would have to do 8 times 3. And 8 times 3 is not 19. So that would not be an answer choice. So I tried 2. That didn't work. I tried 3. That didn't work. Let me try 4. What is 4 times 4? 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so there, yes. And 8 times 4, 8, 16, 24, 32. Ah, both worked. Now, I see, I want to make sure that I do all of them. So 4 for sure seems to work. Let's try 5. 4 times 5 is 20, but is 8 times 5 30? No, so that one didn't work. So that's how you would find an answer choice. If it gave you this and it told you to look for an equivalent fraction, then all you have to do is you go through and you multiply. Start with 2's. 4 times 2. See if you can find the numerator. Whatever you do to the numerator, you do the denominator. So if you did 2 here, you better do 2 here. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. So now that you've learned all about equivalent fractions, how to find them, that you can multiply to find them or you can divide to find them, and using your answer choices, you'll figure out which operation you're supposed to use. Because if it starts off with a big fraction and all your answer choices are small, we divide. If it starts with a small fraction and all your answer choices are larger, you multiply. Okay. And you know what a unit fraction is. It's the smallest fraction, and the numerator is always what? That's right. A unit fraction always has a numerator of 1. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for me. You guys go have fun.